think it's welcome to another edition of HorseCenter, everyone. I am Brian Zipse, and as always, I have the great pleasure of being joined by my to the East Coast. That's Matt Shifman. How are you today, Matt?
I am okay, Brian. It's good to be with you on HorseCenter with the Kentucky Derby. I think it's 17 days away.
17 days, Matt. That's good math. Yeah, we're 2.5 weeks out as we tape this Wednesday morning. I know you're a little bit under the weather, so I'll try to carry more of the load this week, but feel better soon, my friend. But we got a lot of work to do. We're going to start with our Horses to Beat episode, and that will, of course, start in the Kentucky Derby. We're going to do the fillies as well, but let's get horses, Matt. We've compiled our 5 horses most likely to win the Kentucky Derby. There I am on the left, Matt's on the right, and we have an agreement at number 1, Matt. I've liked Sierra Leone as my number 1 since the winter. Nothing has changed since then, Matt. Why is he your number 1?
Yeah, I agree with that, Brian. Nothing has changed after that victory in the Risen Star, and the Risen Star has turned out to be, in my opinion, the best prep race throughout the entire series. Sierra Leone came back in the Bluegrass and ran just as good a race. Looking at the trends in the Kentucky Derby over the years, the last 2 years, the Derby has been won by more of a deep closer with Mage and Rich Strike, and that makes me feel better about the prospects of Sierra Leone in the Derby this year.
Yeah, well, a lot of derbies, and this is true going back now decades, are dictated by what happens early. When there's a strong pace, it's usually won by horses that come from well off the pace. If it's not a strong pace, which has happened, there was a streak where that happened a lot, and favors horses who are closer to the early lead. Certainly, you don't want to be still needing to pass horses when they hit the 16th pole, but it has happened where horses have got up late, a la Rich Strike, a la Grindstone. Sierra Leone, I hope, would make an easier or a quicker move than that. He has done that in many of his races. I love the fact that this Son of Gun Runner really looks bred to handle and looks like a kind of horse to handle 10 furlongs, Matt. He's already been 9 furlongs 3 different times. Last 2 successful. Absolutely, the Risen Star was the prep of the season. We said it before the race, and it's held true for sure since the race. His Bluegrass was impressive, the way he blew by a good horse just a touch. So Sierra Leone is our number 1. Number 2 and number 3, I see we have flip-flopped. It makes sense, I guess. You went with Fierceness, and I can't argue with having Fierceness in the 2 spot here.
Yeah, Brian, and I can't argue with you having Catching Freedom in the 2nd spot either. Boy, Fierceness came back with a vengeance after that somewhat disappointing 2024 debut in the Holy Bull, where the best he could do was finish 3rd. Boy, he ran what can only be described as a brilliant performance in the Florida Derby, showing a great deal of speed, going to the lead and dominating the race, winning by double-digit lengths, recording by far the highest speed figure of any horse in the Derby field.
Yeah, 2 different Fiercenesses we've seen in 5 lifetime races, Matt, because his debut at Saratoga was marvelous. His Breeders' Cup Juvenile at Santa Anita was magnificent, and his Florida Derby win was absolutely excellent. 13.5 lengths, fast time. Here are some negatives for Fierceness. Here's maybe why I don't have him at number 2. I do think there's other speed in this race. Fierceness, you can look at the pattern of every other race. He's not run his best. I don't know if I'm going to buy that. He's due to have a bad race now. That's a little mumbo jumbo for me. But what I do see is if he has some problems early in the race, and the Derby is an excellent place to find problems early in the race if you don't break really sharply. Fierceness has proven that that is not something he enjoys. And as a son of City of Light, yeah, he might get 10 furlongs. Maybe he doesn't, though. City of Light is unproven as a sire at that distance. And, horses who have won off by big margins in the race before the Derby don't always come back and back it up in the Derby. Yeah, if Fierceness runs his race, he's probably the horse to beat. But I think there's enough negatives for me to go with Catching Freedom as my number 2. Catching Freedom is a son of Constitution, should have no problem with a mile and a quarter. Just like Chad Brown, Brad Cox, he's becoming one of the best trainers in the world. This horse has been getting better. He's had three races this year, all stakes races. He has Churchill Downs experience already. First in the Smarty Jones, a good third in that heavy Risen Star, and then a nice win last time coming from way back in the Louisiana Derby. I like the way that Catching Freedom seems to be getting better as we approach the Derby, Matt Shifman.
Yeah, I agree, getting better for sure, Brian. And of course, the Louisiana Derby is the longest of the Derby preps, going a mile and 3/16. So he doesn't have to go too much further to be able to handle the Derby distance. I like the closing move and that victory in the Louisiana Derby for sure.
Okay, so we have our top 3 the same, just 2 and 3 mixed up. I have Catching Freedom as the 4th choice right now, headed to the Derby. Now let's talk about some horses maybe with a little bit better odds after those top 3, Matt. You have Just a Touch. I think he is going to get bet a little bit, but he should still be double digits as he makes his 4th lifetime start. And there's that trainer again, Brad Cox, in the Derby.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking like Brad Cox is going to have 3 horses in the Derby field, and that alone is quite an achievement and a nod to the amazing stable of 3-year-olds that he has been having from year to year. Just a Touch, I guess, last time in the Bluegrass, mid stretch or upper stretch, looked like a winner. He was on the lead and looking comfortable, but us fans of Sierra Leone were looking back on the track to see where he was, and eventually Sierra Leone went past Just a Touch. Before that, Just a Touch was second in the Gotham, behind Deterministic. So that was 2 good second place finishes.
Yeah, Just a Touch will need to move forward. Just a Touch has only had 3 races, and he looks like he has a world of potential, winning a 6 furlong race in January. That was his debut. So he doesn't have the foundation that some of these horses have, Matt. Second best in the Gotham, second best in the Bluegrass. Yeah, Sierra Leone certainly ran right by him, rolled right by him late in that Bluegrass. So he'll have to move forward. He has the potential to do so, but I think he needs to move forward enough where it was safe for me not to put him in my top 5 as the horses to beat. I went a little bit longer here. This is my top long shot right now for the Kentucky Derby. His name is Mystic Dan. We talked about our long shots. You had Just a Touch in there. I had Mystic Dan. I think Mystic Dan will have really nice odds in the Kentucky Derby, but I like him. I just like I said about City of Light as a sire, though I do worry a little bit about Golden Sense as a sire that can produce a classic 10 furlong winner. However, I like the fact that Mystic Dan has a really nice race over Churchill Downs at 2. Kenny McPeak said early on this year that he wanted to teach him to rate, and I think he's done that successfully. 2 races back, the Southwest was big. Last time he found some trouble, shuffled too far back in the Arkansas Derby, went 3rd. I think he's a horse who could bounce back here in the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, he's going to have to bounce back for sure, Brian. I know there were excuses last time. I am a little bit concerned about that his big race and that big speed figure in that big performance in the Southwest came on a muddy and sealed track, and before and after that race on fast tracks, he was not nearly as impressive.
Yeah, well, he got banged pretty good in the backstretch of that Arkansas Derby, and don't forget a big speed figure over the Churchill Downs track as a 2-year-old for Mystic Dan. Number 5 on our list, Matt, makes sense that you have Forever Young there. Forever Young is undefeated in 5 races.
Yeah, I think that to me, Forever Young has the best chance of a Japanese horse coming over to the Derby that we have seen.
I think he has the best chance this year because there's 2 Japanese horses, and I certainly think he's the one with a better chance. If Forever Young had been running in America all year, he would be very high on my list. There's a reason that 19 horses have come over from the UAE Derby, and none of them have ever finished better than 5th. There is a reason. I've seen some people say, "Well, this horse is the best yet." There've been a lot of really good horses that have come over and have failed at Churchill Downs. Trevor Young has a lot to like. I like the breeding. I like the way he's finishing off races. I like the way that he's won in different places, including 3 different countries. But now he's got to come from over there, whether it be Japan, Saudi Arabia, or Dubai. And he's got to come to America, and he's got to face 19 other horses. Churchill Downs in front of 160,000 people. That's difficult for a young horse. Forever Young, I respect him. I fear him. But 0 for 19, never better than 5th. I'm going to keep him off my top 5 for now.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that, Brian.
Henri is my number 5.
Yeah, I was saying, I don't blame you because that record for the UAE Derby horses has been significant, and it's not like some of them have just missed; they just really haven't been competitive.
Yeah, and the other school of thought is, well, they're due, and maybe this is the right horse to use that school of thought. But yeah, yeah. As the third choice in here, I don't think he's going to make my tickets, frankly, and we'll see. He could beat me. Number 5 on my list is Honor Marie, another horse I think will have some nice odds. I like the fact that Honor Marie, is son of Honor Code for Whit Beckman, has had a bunch of good races at Churchill Downs, 3 last year as a 2-year-old, and I think he's developing now. He got that loaded Risen Star in a wet track, rallied for 5th from well back, then came back with a better effort this time, went second to Catching From in the Louisiana Derby. Yeah, he'll be a long shot, but I see a lot of good signs where he's going to run his race on a track that he's very familiar with, and in his 3rd race back this year as a 3-year-old.
Yeah, and that 5th in the Risen Star, there's nothing wrong with that at all. And we've talked about it before, considering that the 4 horses that finished ahead of him were all winners on the Derby Trail.
Yeah, the Risen Star. Like I said, we said it before the race. We said it after the race. The Risen Star was absolutely loaded, and you could see it with our horses to beat list. All right, Matt, we're going to go. We're going to go to the distaff set. Let's talk Kentucky Oaks. We only did our 3 horses to beat, which was not easy for this race because I think there's 6 or 7 horses to potentially beat out of this wide open, in my mind, field of Kentucky Oaks fillies. But surprisingly, we ended on a couple of like fillies on our list, Matt. There's our list. You see we have different 1s, 2s, and 3s, but 2 of the horses on each of our lists are the same. Who's your number 1, Matt?
My number 1 is Tarifa. Again, there we go. Another Brad Cox horse. This filly has done very, very little wrong in her career, with 4 wins from 5 starts, including the Fairgrounds Oaks and the Rachel Alexandra and an allowance race. Her only loss was in her 2nd start in an allowance. She was a debut winner. It's the Brad Cox machine.
Brad Cox is all over the place. Go Dolphin. Oh, Godolphin homebred. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think she's probably a deserving lukewarm favorite if you follow that thinking in here, Matt. I think she's done enough this year with 3 wins. I will say this, though, about Tarifa, maybe why she's not my number 1. She's 3 for 3 this year, 2 Grade 2 stakes wins. All 3 of those wins are at Fairgrounds. The only time she's run at Churchill, she finished 4th. Just something to think about with Tarifa. My number one is Torpedo Anna. Torpedo Anna is a daughter of Fast Anna. Fast Anna was best as a sprinter, but Fast Anna had breeding to go long. We'll see. Kenny McPeak has this filly who's has an impressive win at Churchill. She also has her only loss at Churchill when she was second last year in the Goldenrod. But I really like the way she looked. She just looked like a powder keg last time in the fantasy. That was her first start of the year. So the Oaks will be the second start, but she got a foundation last fall in Kentucky with three good races in Kentucky. Loved her fantasy. She's my number one. Matt, who's your number two?
My number two is the champion, just FYI, the champion 2-year-old filly when she won all three of her races, including the Breeders' Cup for fillies. Was terrific last year. Came back for her debut for Belmont and finished second in the Ashland. I don't take that as a knock in any way. That's kind of typical of Belmont. He's got his eyes on the Oaks with just FYI.
Yeah. For your information, Matt, you're dead on right there because Bill Mott usually doesn't have them cranked up for the first start. I thought she looked really good. I thought she looked like a filly who was full of class and one start away from running a big race when she was second in the Ashland. We don't have the winner, a pretty impressive Ashland winner on our list, Leslie's Rose, and that says something about just FYI, in my opinion. She's my number three. I have Tarifa, who we already talked about, number two, but just FYI was a nice return race and a race where you think that she will move forward. So the champion returned good. Well, those are my three, Matt. We talked about all three of mine. Your number three is not on my list. What's her name?
Ways and Means for Chad Brown. Chad Brown is really high on this horse. He's happy that this horse got into the field, was an impressive debut winner at Saratoga, ran second in the Spinaway, and then came back to make her debut this year at Gulfstream Park and finished second in the Gulfstream Oaks. She didn't really have the best of trips in that race, Brian. She got steadied going into the first turn, pushed out really wide, coming around into the stretch, and was beaten only one length. I know Chad really likes this horse. So as you said, I'm not sure what kind of odds we'll get because it is a Chad Brown horse, but there are, like you said at the beginning of this segment, there are so many horses in the Oaks that are legitimate contenders.
Yeah, Matt, I think the Kentucky Oaks is going to have a whole lot of fillies between 4-1 and 8-1. I think Ways and Means will get bet. I think she's one that will get bet, and that's part on reputation. Listen, her debut at Saratoga was more than very good. It was outstanding the way she won her debut. Here's the problem for me with what Ways and Means. She's a daughter of Practical Joke, who often I like better a little bit shorter. She's only had one race in the last 8 months. That worries me a little bit. And yeah, I kind of like the return race of Torpedo Anna, who was racing in the fall, and just FYI, who was racing in the fall, better than I like the return race of Ways and Means. Yeah, she did have some trouble, but I also thought it was an easier cast that she was running against. Ways and Means could be the best filly in this crop. That would not surprise me at all. But with only one race in so long, and only one race at a mile or more, I worry that she's not going to be ready to beat such a good field in this field, in this Kentucky Oaks field. We'll see. Definitely a talented filly, though, Ways and Means. All right, Matt, we did our Kentucky Derby and our Kentucky Oaks horses to beat. Just a brief look at the horses Matt and I think are the most likely winners. Matt, we should mention at this time our sponsor for the week is Super Screener, and Mike Shuddy just does an outstanding job of going into so much detail and depth with these horses. He not only gives you horses who are likely to run well in these unusual races, but he also gives you horses that are maybe not as likely to run well, who will get bet. He also finds year in and year out long shots that are interesting plays to put in the exotic. So super screener. I know I like it. I think you do too.
Yeah, that's for sure. And along with that, Brian, there are so many suggestions about how to wager in the big races. And boy, any suggestions that people can get on how to wager and be profitable in the Derby field of 20 is something worth looking at.
That's right. And they keep offering more and more information every year. Again, Mike, our friend Mike Shuddy does an outstanding job, so I urge you to check it out every year. Before I make my bets, I take a look at what Mike has to say in his detailed analysis in that super screener. All right, Matt, we haven't gotten to the race of the week yet. We're well into the show. It's time to talk about the $1.25 million. That's a lot of money. $1.25 million Oaklawn Handicap. This is a 9 furlong stakes race, traditional race at Oaklawn Park, of course. Race 11 on Saturday's card. Like I said, 9 furlongs, 1.25 million. It's a grade 2, could be a grade 1. It's close. We'll go with what they call a grade 2. I don't know if there's any champions in this year's field, Matt, but there's about 7 graded stakes winners in here, and it's a pretty wide open race, a good betting race. You ready to run down the list?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, number 1 is Highland Falls, Matt. And the first thing that jumps out at me about this lightly raced Godolphin Brad Cox, there they are again, horse, is the breeding. He's a son of Curlin and Round Pond. That's pretty good breeding.
It sure is, Brian. Another, when you're training for Godolphin, that's the kind of horses with royal breeding that you are going to get. He was 4th in the Santa Anita Derby, and before that was an allowance winner at Fairgrounds and Churchill Downs.
Yeah. Of course, that was the big cap, the Santa Anita Handicap last time. That was his stakes debut. He had won 3 of 4 coming in, and as Matt said, he had 2 allowance wins before the big cap. So he went out to California, ran pretty good, maybe a little farther back than I would have thought, beaten less than 3 lengths, went 4th in the big cap. I don't think this race is any easier than the big cap, but he's certainly a horse who could be moving forward with those kind of connections and pedigree and start to his career. He could still be any kind, or he could be just a good horse that'll get beat here Saturday. A hard call to see how good Highland Falls may be. Got beat out in Santa Anita, might get beat again here. One of the ones, though, to consider. Double Crown looks like a long shot for Ray Ginter, Matt, the son of Bourbon Courage, though. He has popped up before.
Yeah, this Maryland bred. His last win was back in December at Laurel.
Yeah, and he's a graded stakes winner going back a little bit farther. So somebody to consider. Excuse me. Somebody to consider, but certainly a deserving long shot facing a strong field. Magic Tap, a horse with a lot of potential. Some of the things we were saying about Highland Falls, we might have been saying about Magic Tap last summer. Looked like he had a lot of potential. 4th in the Pennsylvania Derby, 2nd in the Razorback, 2 starts back at Oaklawn Park. Disappointing 4th last time in the Essex. I guess there's still some potential he could break through. This would be a great race to do it, but kind of losing faith in Magic Top as a grade 1, grade 2 type of horse.
Yeah, it seems like when he steps up to the bigger races, he just doesn't quite get it done because his last win was in January in an allowance at Oaklawn.
Yeah, the horse that beat him actually in the Razorback is making his first start since the Razorback. That's Octane. Octane might be a little bit more interesting. You see him, we have him about the same odds here in the Oaklawn Handicap. Octane has some good tactical speed, Matt, and a little bit maybe in and out, but when he runs, he can be tough. Nice win over the track last time.
Yeah, that's for sure. This is one of I think 4 or 5 horses in this field that is $1 million earner already. He's got 8 career wins. So this is a horse that knows how to get his head down at the wire. A Florida bred, and as you mentioned, nice win last time in the Razorback.
Yeah, 8 of 18 to be exact, for a lifetime record for Octane. Hasn't proven it probably against a field this tough yet, but one to watch. And like I said, he's a horse who should be involved early. And as we take a look at the time form US pace projector now, Matt, you see, in fact, they have Octane just on the lead there. He's the 4, followed by 2 horses we haven't talked about yet in number 10, Skippy Longstocking. We're definitely going to talk about Skippy breaking from the outside. You see County Final, a long shot there. And also another horse that we need to talk about a bunch too is Reincarnate. So the 4 all pretty close to the pace. Same fast pace, but there's enough early pace there where it should be a pretty fair race, it looks like.
Yeah, that's for sure, Brian.
As we go back to the field, Matt, we'll look at Red Rat One. I'm gonna crow just a little bit because I had Red Rat One for a real nice win last time in the New Orleans Handicap. He is coming to the Oaklawn Handicap now, Matt. And one thing that occurs to me after betting him and winning him last time with the New Orleans Classic, the son of Gunrunner doesn't really put 2 races together, 2 wins together. He's 4 of 18 lifetime.
Yeah, he hasn't done it in the past, Brian, and maybe he's ready. Maybe Steve Asmussen has this one ready to start winning more regularly because he certainly has flashed some talent over the years. He won the West Virginia Derby. He was 4th in the Preakness. So I have faith in Asmussen with these horses that are becoming older runners in the handicap division. Asmussen does some of his best work with these types.
Yeah, that's true. I just wonder on an individual basis if Red Route One is one of those horses who just doesn't win a lot. That's my beef with him against a really tough field here in the Oaklawn Handicap. Reincarnate, another one of those horses who should be involved early. Matt, Reincarnate came, if you remember, to Oaklawn Park last spring and ran some decent races. He was 3rd in both the Rebel and the Arkansas Derby. Was the son of Good Magic for trainer Bob Baffert last time. The horse with tactical speed has only 1 race this year. It was a pretty good race. He finished ahead of Highland Falls when he was 3rd in the Santa Anita Handicap last time.
Yeah, and you mentioned those races at Oaklawn Park that did get him into the Kentucky Derby, where he finished 13th. He also was a winner of the Lozelle Futurity, which Bob Baffert has won. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's won that race 27 times in a row.
No, man, 2.4 million times he's won that race. So that's the exact figure. Yeah, Reincarnate. I tell you what, I'm not going to make him my top pick, but if Reincarnate has the lead at the 8th pole, I would not bet against him. He's a pretty tough horse to get by late, and he had a nice prep there. I don't know if you call the Big Cap a prep, but as it turns out, it was a prep for this really nice seven-figure race here at Oaklawn Park. Number 7 is Guntown. Not sure how long we have to talk about Guntown. He's another son of Gunrunner. The one thing I will say about Guntown, Matt, is Mike Maker claiming horses. Sometimes you got to look out, but this looks like an awfully tough spot.
Yeah, that's for sure. He seems to be a nice, solid allowance horse.
Yeah, number 8, Last Samurai. Again, another horse I'm not going to pick here, but back class at Oaklawn Park. This horse has won $1.6 million at Oaklawn Park alone. He's won 4 times, finished 3rd, 2nd, 3 other times at Oaklawn Park. Won a couple stakes here last year. His form of late, though, is not good. This would be the track where he could wake up, but last time over the track, he didn't do much.
Yeah, that's for sure. He was 6th in the Oaklawn Mile, I think what you're referring to. But yeah, he loves Oaklawn Park. Has won a ton of money there. Well, I guess that's partially because of the huge purses that come with a lot of the stakes races last year. Uh, those wins came in the Essex and the Razorback.
Yeah, and he just missed missed in this race, a good edition of this race last year. He's a horse who you could throw a few bucks on and say, well, he loves Oaklawn Park, and he might wake up on Saturday. Number 9 is 1 of 2 for Safi Joseph Jr. I like the other Safi Joseph better, Matt. This is a horse who's been running on either turf or synthetics of late. I really don't know what to make of County Final other than maybe he's involved a little bit early.
Yeah, well, Safi is always willing to take a shot in big races.
That's right, and he probably has a much better shot with the next horse on the list. That's Skippy Longstocking. We know Skippy. He's the son of Exaggerator. He's been around for a while. 7 out of 22 lifetime, Matt. This will be his first stop at Oaklawn Park, interestingly. He's been all over the country. Third late last year in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, a good third. He walked off in the Pegasus after being pulled up. Not his day, not feeling well that day, but he bounced back real well last time at Tampa Bay Downs.
Yeah, and besides that victory in the Grade 3 Challenger, there's plenty of other races where when Skippy Longstocking shows up and is feeling good, he's dangerous. He was third last year in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. He won the Charlestown Classic. Plenty of excellent results in his past performances.
Yeah, just a real nice horse for sure, Matt. It does occur to me that 3 of the horses that we talked about most glowingly so far, Skippy Longstocking, Reincarnate, and Octane, are all pretty much speed horses. They're not dead, got to have the lead type of horses, but they all want to be kind of pressing that pace. So it'll be interesting to see the run into the first turn here at Oaklawn Park. A horse who could take advantage of a strong pace would include, of course, Red Route 1 is one, but also the number 11, Instant Coffee. Instant Coffee was a nice horse this time last year, Matt. Son of Bolt Doro won consecutive graded stakes, the Kentucky Jockey Club at 2. Then he started last year with a win in the Lecomte. Then we didn't see him for a long time, and he just came back. Got a new trainer, Jose D'Angelo. Pretty nice return race at Gulfstream Park. He didn't win, but he did what I wanted to see him do. He was really running down the stretch that day. All of a sudden, he's going to have long odds in his second race back here.
Yeah, that is for sure. He's going to have long odds in here. But sure, he showed so much promise as a 2-year-old, and then on the Kentucky Derby Trail. It does concern me a little bit that now you mentioned the trainer change to Jose D'Angelo, but it's 3 trainers in the last 3 races, 3 different trainers in the last 3 races. And that, I don't know if it concerns me, but a little bit of a head scratcher for me.
Yeah, there were some physical issues, obviously, after he lost his second race as a 3-year-old. So we're wondering if Instant Coffee is 100%. He was off for a long time, but the return race was good enough to think that for me to think that he's a threat, because that return race makes me think that he steps up a little bit. This is a race that's wide open, and a rallier could be tough in here. Having said that, let's get to our top picks, Matt, in the Oaklawn Park Handicap. Who do you like best in this one?
Yeah, and I think our picks, we've been doing pretty well the last few weeks between us. I'm going to go with Red Route 1. You mentioned that there's a handful of horses that prefer to be closer to the lead. That might set things up nicely for Red Route 1. I know you talked about the concerns about him putting races together. We shall see. I'm putting a little bit of faith in Hall of Fame trainer Steve Asmussen.
Yeah, we're of the same thinking as far as a rallier winning on Saturday. I went with odds. I went with Instant Coffee. I really thought he was a nice horse. Early last year, he was a really nice horse early last year, and I think he can bounce back. The prep was good enough for me to take a shot at double digits odds here in the Oaklawn Handicap. All right, Match Center in the books. Can I get a parting shot from you, my good friend there in New Jersey?
Absolutely, Brian. Another horse center, another Kentucky Derby looming very largely in a couple of weekends. We'll have more Derby stuff coming up, talking more about the field and potential wagers and all the things that we like to do here on Horse Center.
Yeah. Yeah, Matt, and I'll correct you. Our top picks have been doing very well for weeks and weeks. So let's keep it up this week. Let's thank Candace Curtis, our good friend in the home office, for the race graphics. Derby Wars, our perpetual sponsor here on Horse Center, the best contest site out there, and of course Time Forum US for their great pace projections we use every week here on Horse Center. Matt and I will be back next week with a whole lot more to talk about. Kentucky Derby is coming. We're excited. Are you excited, Matt?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you are. Thanks for all you for watching. If you hadn't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel here at Horse Racing Nation, go ahead, do it. Turn on those notifications. Leave us a comment. Matt and I sure do appreciate it. We'll be back next week with more Derby right here on Horse Center. See you then.